Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for joining me on Beyond the Frame. This is Cubic AMF's little online foray into helping you and your fellow workers, owners, operators recoup the most out of your business during challenging business times. And today we've got a really special guest with us. Talk about interesting for the bowling industry. They are a bowling company, and I'd like to say they're bowling adjacent, which is crazy because they're a consumer products division who manufactures bowling balls, shoes, all things consumer higher level players would use to participate in our sport. So it's a little bit different than a manufacturer of commodity and goods for the sport itself, as far as, FECs and bowling centers go. With me today, joining me is the president of Strom Bowling Incorporated, Dave Symes. Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing great,
Symes.
Jay.
People say Sims. I know you probably answer to everything now. Just Dave.
Yeah, I'm doing great, Jay. Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite.
No, it's a pleasure to have you, Dave. I've had a relationship with Strom Bowling Products probably since Bill made his first ball in the garage. Almost, it feels like that long ago. So I'm very familiar with your business, and I always like to find value to bring to our channel for our viewers who may not think about things the same way a company like yourself does. So, we've been in a little bit of a tumultuous time as far as business climate goes. And the pandemic has certainly caused some stop gaps throughout time with relationship to opening, closing, restrictions, all these things that proprietors and owner operators are dealing with. But you don't own and operate bowling centers. You provide high quality equipment for bowlers to perform in bowling centers. So, one of the questions, the obvious question is, has your company faced some of the same kind of slowdowns as our operators have in the US and globally? And, why do you suppose your results are the way you are?
Well, Jay, when bowling slows down, we slow down. There's no doubt about it. And when bowling slowed down in the United States, we had this place cooking pretty good. We were having some record sales, and in the middle of March it just stopped. But internationally, I guess the beauty of our business is that we're not just in one local community. And if the governor says you're going to shut down in this community, if you're a bowling center operator, you have to abide by these rules. Whereas for us, we have a worldwide network. And so different part of the world, different parts slowed down at different times. And so we didn't miss a day. We did have a pretty good slowdown, and we quit working overtime and we cut back, but we still had enough work to make our payrolls here in Utah at the facility here. Unfortunately, our other facility in Texas wasn't so lucky, but so we were able to somewhat withstand that initial brunt of shutdown. But yeah, we had pretty good slowdown. We were probably limping along about 30% for about 60 days.
Wow. Well, we've been talking about, what the pattern of recovery is for this industry. And one of the commonalities that keeps coming up, at least in the US side, is that the competitive player, that's that league, the diehard league bowler, the tournament player, even the youth, for example, because, they're passionate about everything they do. They seem to be the savior, and I'm using that in air quotes, of the industry. They're the first ones that are wanting to come back into the bowling center. They believe it's safe to be there. They know the businesses and the buildings inside and out, and they feel comfortable there. So they're less worried about some of the ramifications of being out in public. And, when you look at bowling in general, it's not like you're sitting in your grandmother's living room with 7 relatives that you only see once a year. You're in a large building with very tall ceilings, and in general, very good airflow. So, what we've discovered with that pandemic is that it's more or less a respiratory disease. It's probably transmitted through air more so than touch. Not saying you can't get it those ways, but all those initial things had led us to believe that, oh my God, it's just completely terrible. Now we find out it's just mundanely terrible. Not, it's horrible. But it's not as transmittable as we once maybe thought it was. So that says to me, look, these tournaments are just going gangbusters, at least in certain parts of the country that are able to open. Their league bowlers want to come back, and they are coming back, and they're doing so with all kinds of restrictions put in place. Shower curtains hanging, 3 per pair, 1 team on, I mean, it's crazy because there were no kind of guidelines, or they were very broken up from region to region, city to city, county to county. It just depended. So I would think that your industry, your business itself would not have slowed as much as a traditional bowling center. And you're saying you didn't quite hit the rock bottom like so many people have, but you're starting to see a comeback now. And the interesting thing that you said to me about was you're a global company, which we all know that. But when you think about how the rest of the world has reacted to this pandemic, why don't you share with our viewers what you've discovered?
Well, Asia, I think the Asians are maybe a little more used to some of these types of viruses and some of this stuff. And so they were, South Korea and Japan and Singapore and Malaysia, and you would go through the Pacific Rim and Asia. They've had some slowing, but it's been, they've been able to somewhat keep going and keep the bowling going for the most part. Japan did shut down for a little while, as did some of those Pacific Rim companies or countries. I mean, now Europe, on the other hand, boy, they've taken a hit.
Yeah.
They're still shut down. I just read somewhere where the UK isn't going to open until the 27th of July.
Yeah, I saw that too. And I thought that's just amazing that you're predicting a good 5-6 months out still.
Yeah. And so Sweden didn't really shut down. They slowed down a little bit, and they did some physical distancing there. The other countries were more conservative and have kind of been in and out a little bit. But when Japan kind of slowed down, South Korea was going pretty good, and then vice versa a little bit, where the Japanese folks were able to get more control over this and able to have a little bit of business going through there. And so we had we were very fortunate that we had that balance, especially in our Asian countries. And of course, we never really stopped selling bowling balls in the United States.
No.
Distribution here somewhat kept going even when we were somewhat locked down.
I'll tell you what, every time I went to Carol and Donna over at the pro shop there was always a mound of balls to be drilled. So people didn't stop buying bowling balls because they weren't bowling. At least in my opinion, I could see that.
Yeah, I think they were getting ready for the next tournament, the next opportunity to hit the lanes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's interesting because we talk a lot about what it takes to be successful in business on this little broadcast that we do. And we give a lot of, ideas, and we like to showcase people who are doing things phenomenally and say, what can you take away from this? But one of the common threads that has shown up in business and successful businesses over the past several years now, and that it's continuing to trend upward, it's not enough just to be a manufacturer or a producer of a really high quality product or some of the best products on the planet for no matter what you're building, whether you're making bowling balls or you're making sneakers or you're making printer paper. It doesn't matter what you're making. I think in today's business climate, consumers want much more service oriented features than they've ever had available to them before. Now, part of that is because of the tech companies that have pushed that on us, right? They've taught us to want that stuff and they could deliver it. But how does somebody like a Strom Bowling Products deliver service along with products to their customers? What are some of the initiatives that you guys have been doing over the past several years that kind of brings service into the fold to show that you're this complete company?
Well, even from the onset, I've been here since 1997, and Bill always he's demanded basically that we be a service-oriented company. We don't have an answering machine that answers our phone. We have a human being that does, so that when you call Strom, you get a human being on the phone. We have technical services here where if people have questions, they can call, and that didn't stop during the pandemic, and it won't stop anytime in the future. We believe in giving service to all of our customers, whether it be the distributors, the retailers, or the bowling community. We have people here to answer any questions or make sure that everything gets done. You know, that's just always been part of the culture here. When the pandemic hit and we really saw the slowdown and that people weren't able to go bowling, you know, Gary came to me and he said, "We've got all this live streaming equipment. Let's start the morning bolt and let's do a live stream show." In fact, we were doing a couple of them a day. We were doing a morning bolt, and then we were doing like afternoon, like coffee with Hank in the afternoon. We had some different shows that we were doing, and it kind of morphed into some other stuff. And so it was really good idea to keep everybody engaged, and everybody in here really bought in, and you know, they made sure that they made time to do that. So we just tried to keep everybody engaged in bowling, even though they weren't able to go to the bowling lanes. We wanted to keep bowling in front of them so that what they were thinking about it, you know.
Yeah, you know, you bring up a good point, because that was one of the things that we would, Dottie and myself and some of our guests would oftentimes preach to our listeners. Look, if you're not open, that's fine, but you need to be in front of your customers' eyes. So tell them on social media what you're doing during this time. If you're painting a new interior color scheme, show them that. Help them, let them pick out, you know, what the design should be like. Let them know that, you know, you're investing in power washing the parking lot. I don't know, whatever it is that you're doing, show that and communicate that on. Now, that's not exactly providing service, but it is allowing that bowler or that customer to be inside the business when you can't physically let them be there. So in the long run, it is servicing them with getting their bowling fix or their information fix about your business, which they're passionate about, which is why they're following you. So I agree. You know, I see that you have a couple of other things. You know, you not only do you develop new products that are kind of groundbreaking to the industry, and you've kind of been the industry leader for many years now with that, and lots of other companies have tackled on board. And I must say that we have an amazing number of really good bowling balls that are out there. Strom, obviously, and there are some other brands that, you know, I used to say there's no bad bowling balls anymore. You know, like back in the 80s, we're like, oh, that's a dud. It's hard to find a real dud in today's environment because you've all learned so much from each other. But I think you guys have been the driving force there for so long. But you're developing more than just bowling tools. I love this new tool for vector layout that helps people do their angles like super quickly. That was a genius idea that you guys have developed. So I'll see that at pro shops, and that'll get some traction quickly across the globe, I'm sure, if it hasn't already. And I like that you are educating your brand ambassadors, your staff. You have courses available for them to learn. You're showing them what the value system needs to be if you're going to be a member of this team. I mean, these are steps that other companies and other industries are not necessarily following. But isn't that how you got where you are?
Well, I think that's part of the service too. You know, we spend a lot of our resources on educating because bowling balls are an unfinished product. You know, when a bowling ball rolls out of here, when we put it in a box, it's not finished. And so we spend a lot of effort, a lot of time and resource educating the pro shops on how to finish our products properly so that people have a good experience with our bowling balls. Because if they don't finish them right, if the pro shops don't understand the product and they don't finish them properly, they could end up being a dud. When the ball really isn't a dud, it might just be that the way that it was set up is not conducive to the player or to the condition that they're playing on. So yeah, education to the retailers is very important to us.
Well, that's great, a great initiative. And I think that, you know, if you're an FEC, if you're a business sitting here listening to us, I think there's one of the biggest takeaways you can take right there is, am I educating my staff, my core staff? Am I educating them to the level that they need to be successful to promote my brand, to promote the values and the core differences that we provide as a business to my competitors, you know? And that's something that you really should learn how to do, is differentiate yourself and use you have your points. I'm losing my train of thought here, and I have a statement, but I'm reading, I'm trying to put you together. I'll come back to that in a minute. So service, you've come a long way on, you started out by providing service, and you've kept growing that service model throughout the time. And that leads you to success, right? Let's talk about some of the successes we've seen recently with you acquired Global 900 and the other brands, and you brought them under one roof. Tell everybody about that for a quick moment.
Well, we bought Global Manufacturing several years ago. I think it had been about 6 years ago. Time goes by pretty fast, especially as you get a little older. But we bought Global Manufacturing because we needed the capacity. We were always having a hard time keeping up with the demand for our products, and that little manufacturing facility became available. So we bought it and ran it for a while. And unfortunately, with the pandemic and with the slowdown, we were unable to keep it operating. And like I said before, we even slowed down here to where we were limping along around 35% of what we really could push out of this building for a month or two. And so, yeah, the plan was always to consolidate that, to expand our production. We've used this slowdown time, pretty effectively. We've put a lot of resources into our production. We're working on a new pour line, adding capacity. We put in some more lathes. We put in some new engravers. We've got these killer laser engravers now that they knock the bowling balls out in about 1/10 the time the old engravers used to do, and it looks better. And so we're really fortunate that the Crispins are great people. They're great people to work for. Bill's a frugal guy. We had some reserve money in the bank, so we were able to make it through this. The PPP helped us out a little bit. We were able to invest that. We built a 30,000 square foot building on the north property here. During the pandemic, people thought he was nuts for doing it, but we wanted to consolidate everything into here. It's easier to manage one facility from here, We just brought Master in-house, so now Master Industries is also here. It had been in California since the late 60s, but we just felt it's easier managed here. And so part of the pandemic, it kind of moved us along with our plans. It pushed the plans up, and it lit a fire under me to get some of this stuff done. So, I guess that answers your question to a certain degree.
No, it definitely does. Is that new building going to house the purchase or the acquisition of the bowling ball museum or the bowling memorabilia museum? What is the official title?
It's a collection.
The collection.
It's Bill's collection.
Nebraska. It is still in Omaha, right?
No, it was in Omaha.
And they're moving it.
Here. It's here.
Okay.
We're figuring out a location for it right now. We may put it on the mezzanine here where our corporate offices are. That's really the plan moving forward. We haven't really solidified that yet, or we have another option to put it in that other facility out there. But I'd rather have it a little bit closer to us, and that way, Bill, really the thought is maybe to expand Bill's office and to put this collection basically as kind of part of his room, where he has this room that's his. And so, we're still hopeful to have that by the end of June, to have that set up to where people can come and visit. But it is here, it's safe and dry, and it's sitting out in the old warehouse right now.
Good. I'm remiss because I did not get to see it when I went to Nebraska, and I wanted to. So one day I'm going to come see the facility, and I'll get a chance to look at it there, hopefully, right? Another piece of your products that are just really blowing up and has just become an amazing event are the Strom Youth Championships, the SYC program. That Gary, Leanne, Blair, I believe they run that whole shebang, sort of.
Yep.
What a great job. What a great job. I just see that the youth bowlers of today make my head spin. They learn completely differently than we did when we were their age. And I'm wondering what the future is going to hold, because you have some super talented players that are 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old that it's pretty exciting.
we just launched a new program called the Evolution Program. And it's open to all bowlers. You know, it doesn't matter if you're a Motive fan or a Brunswick fan or what brand you are. I mean, the Parker's kids are part of it. Parker Bones kids. And you know, Parker and Leslie and their boys, they've been strong supporters of the SYC. So we have that program going on, and basically it's where we give assignments, and the kids have assignments that they have to do, and they get to learn from some of the best in the business from our crew, you know. But the SYCs have been fantastic. We were a little leery about running them during the pandemic, but you know, Gary and Leanne and Blair have done a fantastic job leading the way, I think, in running youth tournaments, especially during a pandemic.
Yeah.
And the last one, because we're only able to run at about half capacity, they sell out pretty fast. The last one sold out in 2 minutes.
Wow.
So you better be ready when those entrants go on sale. You better be ready if you want to bowl in one.
Click. Multiple computers. Absolutely. You know, this brings me back to, you know, why you do what you do, why Strom is the company that they are. And I really think that you said a mouthful there when you said, I don't care, you know, who they're affiliated with or what they are. Could be Brunswick, could be Motive. It doesn't matter. And that's what we came up with when we designed this platform, this Beyond the Frame. Yeah, we're Cubic AMF. But if you're a Brunswick customer or US Bowling, it doesn't matter. You need to come here. We need our industry and our sport to continue to survive, thrive, and grow so that we all have a job down the road. We don't want there to be one supplier, one manufacturer. That's not good for business. We all know what happens there. You know, if there was only one Apple and there was no Samsung, we wouldn't have the phones we have now. We'd still be looking at maybe an iPhone 4 and thinking it was the best thing ever. You know, we need that competition to push us forward. So thank you for being a part of a company that recognizes that and is willing to give back to the industry in so many ways. Thank you to Bill and Barbara Chrisman for what they've done. And, you know, may have been them to start out with, but there's a whole team behind them now that run this ship with them. And I got to say, it takes a lot of energy to make sure that all those wheels are going. And Dave, you have a tough job right there.
Well, I've got good help. I really
do. I agree.
I've got good help. You know, and our job, we did an exercise, our purpose and our vision and our values. And I recommend everybody does that exercise. Figure out what your purpose is, what your values are, and what your vision is, where you're going. Those are good exercises for anybody, any company to do. Doesn't matter how big or small you are.
Correct.
You know, our purpose is to grow the sport of bowling. If we grow the sport of bowling, then our business will grow behind it. I'm a firm believer that people don't buy what you sell, they buy what you believe. You know, so I always tell everybody here, I'd rather have 20% of 20 million than 50% of 1 million or 2 million. You know,
yeah.
Look at the numbers this way, but let's grow this sport, do it right, and be kind to everybody. We need to be humble. We need to be hungry. And I'll
show you my sticker. I bought this for a reason. Choose kindness.
Choose kindness. That's a great philosophy, especially in this day and age. We can use more of it.
There's never a shortage, that's for sure. Yeah. I mean, there's never an abundance. Wow. There's always a shortage. You know, thank you for joining us today. If you're watching us, Dave brings up a very good point. You should do an analysis on your business, whether you're a 6-lane bowling center in the middle of podunk nowhere with 100 people as your population, or you own, you know, a 24-lane or in a robust community. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities? What do you perceive your threats are? What are your values? I mean, it's really simple to sit down and do with key staff, with other stakeholders of your business, and then map out a plan as to how you want to get forward and take a step. Take one step today. One step is all you have to do every day. And if that one step today is sitting down and putting some thoughts on paper, you've won. See how easy it is to run business, Dave? Just tell them.
Yeah, it's easy. It's just that easy.
It is that easy. Well, I would like to thank you so much for being our guest today, Dave, and for watching. This week, we'll have a couple of seeds of success that we're going to drop later in the week, and next week, Dottie San Martin will be back with a fabulous guest to fill your ears up with some ear candy and business news and get you to make a few more dollars and build your business the way you want to. So, on behalf of Dave Symes and Strom Bowling, Jay Nephew, Cube KMF, you're listening to Beyond the Frame, and we thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.